All right, everybody. Hello. As always, welcome back to Multiunit Real Estate. As always, thank you for all support, all subscribers, much appreciated. So this is, in my opinion, the number one areas I avoid when looking at real estate. I avoid areas that have a lot of multi-units stacked on top of each other. Especially, you see some of these areas in Chicago, whether the suburbs or even like in the city, whereas buildings that have 10 units plus all stacked up on top of each other on the same block. And honestly, there are even some areas I avoid where there's a bunch of 3-unit buildings all stacked on top of each other. All right, so for a few reasons. One, it puts way too many people on the block. So depending on how much money you have in certain areas, it puts way too many people of, whatever income status you want to look at all on top of each other on the block. And that can cause way too many issues. Two, when you have a bunch of buildings all stacked on top of each other, typically, at least in Chicago or even like in the suburbs, they're all owned by different owners. So you have some owners who take care of the properties, some owners who kind of take care of the properties, and some owners who don't. So you don't want somebody else who doesn't really take care of their property messing up your property value because you take care of what you have, but you look next door, they need a new roof, they need tuck pointing done, they don't keep their property clean, all types of stuff. They need new windows, need new this, need new that. Now that makes your property look worse because you're surrounded by potentially other properties where their owners don't have the upkeep like you have when it comes to your property. All right, another reason. When you have all those properties stacked on top of each other, whether it's a bunch of 3-unit, 2 units, or even 4 units and plus, you have all types of different people on that block. And even if you exercise good judgment when you're looking for new tenants, the people who own the other properties around you may not exercise that good judgment like you do. So let's say that you're in a good financial position, you've done everything right, you paid your bills on time, this and that. So you're not super pressed to get any and everybody inside your building because whether or not you have to pay the mortgage out of your pocket or maybe you don't make as much money for a couple months, it's not that big of a deal to you. But other owners and investors, it might not be the same thing. They could be behind on their bills, behind on their mortgage. And if they have a vacant unit, they have to get somebody in there quick, fast, and in a hurry. So next thing you know, you have other property owners on your block who are letting any and everybody live in their units. And we've all seen what can happen when you don't really background check people, you don't do the proper background, looking into their past and stuff like that when they come live in your building. Now you have people who are tearing up other buildings in the area. Now that makes your property area or your property value go down as well too. And also, depending on how bad it's getting, now that can also make your tenants not feel as safe when they're living in your building. So literally, you could be doing everything correct when it comes to your building, who you're selecting to put into your units, and because of what other owners got going on, because you have way too many people all stacked on top of each other, now that affects you. Me personally, both of the multi-units that I have, so remember, I always tell people I own 3 properties. So I have a 4-unit, a 2-unit, and a house. All 3 of those properties are either one of few multi-units on the block or really one of the only multi-units in the area. And that's the way I like it. Because typically when it comes to home ownership and single family homes are typically going to be owned by an owner, not an investor. That's just the way it goes typically. And typically homeowners have more pride in upkeeping what they have as opposed to, an absentee landlord. And definitely more so than a tenant. So not everybody's like me. Not everybody's going to be a landlord or an slash investor who's always present, going around looking at the properties and stuff like that. In Chicago and also in the suburbs, we have a big thing right now where you have investors from all over the country and sometimes even different parts, of the world coming to Chicago to buy. So they can't see what's going on. Then they hire a management company, and the management company, can just put anybody in their units. Oh yeah, it's a good tenant. They're going to pay their rent on time. Not the case. Maybe they pay their rent on time, but they're sloppy. They're tearing up their property in turn. That makes your property not look as good either. All right, so it's just one of the things you have to look at. I would say that's my biggest red flag when I see a bunch of multi-units all stacked on top of each other. Unless you're in a super, super expensive area, there are some areas in Chicago that are nice that do have a lot of multi-units, but they're not cheap areas to be in. And even then, I'm kind of I don't really like it when you don't have any space. It's just people all stacked on top of people. All right, so look out for that. I have more tips coming soon, more videos. Thank you everybody for the support. Remember, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can find me on Instagram at Ultrakellen. And if you're watching me on Instagram, you can find me on YouTube at Ultrakellen Real Estate. All right, guys, till next time.